Hello, I'm Kelly Shutnick, and I'm a marketing strategist and an author coach. And today I have with me Javier Garay, a children's book author who I met on TikTok. We're going to talk about TikTok for authors. Hi, Javier. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure. Very, very excited to be here with you.
Awesome. I've been super fascinated about TikTok for authors and how TikTok can, or how authors can use TikTok to promote their books. And you're one of my favorite authors on TikTok.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so excited to have you talk about this with me today. First of all, before we get into TikTok, tell me about your books.
So my books, excellent. I have a series of children's books. It's called the Blocks Book Series. The first three books in the series are currently out. The first one, actually, it's here. The first one is The Blocks
Look
Come Out at
at
Night. The Blocks Come Out at Night. The second one is The Blocks Get Lost in India. And the one that we just released is The Blocks Save New York City. So before I became an author, I owned a STEM education business. And this was after having a whole career on Wall Street that we don't even need to get into. But I owned a STEM education business where we taught after school programs and summer camps for kids about 4 to 12 years old, teaching them how to make bottle rockets, video games, robots. And I saw that there was such a need for early STEM education. So fast forward a few years, I sold the business and I was trying to figure out what to do. And I, through a whole bunch of different conversations, mostly with my kids, I ended up deciding to write a STEM-based children's book series. So my books have a STEM focus: science, technology, engineering, and math. There's also a cultural element to it. I plan to write 7 in the series, 1 for each continent, and also teach kids something along the way. So that's it in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, that is really cool. I love what you're doing just in general, but then also on TikTok. So how did you get started as a children's book author? How did you get started on TikTok?
That was we can thank the pandemic and the global shutdown. I stay at home with the kids as I write. I started writing before the pandemic hit, but my first book came out in 2019, a few months before the world kind of shut down, and having to entertain 3 young kids at a time. So this was what, 2 years ago. So at the time they were 8. Actually, no, how old are they now? They are 9, 10, and 12. So minus 2 years. So they were doing virtual school, taking breaks, and just kind of, coming to their wits' end. And I was too, being home with them. So I found TikTok, and it was just something that I did with the kids as a break. We would watch funny videos or science videos. And as kind of the world got back to normal, I said, you know what? I think I can probably do this and do this for my author account. So at first I just had an anonymous account, one of those user 526789. But I was like, you know what? I think I would enjoy this. I enjoyed the content. It seemed to relate more to me than Instagram or Facebook. So I started small. I introduced myself. I started the account, Javier the author. And I, from there just kind of went and said, hey, let me share a little bit about my books, a little bit about myself, a little bit about what I'm passionate about, and see if it resonates with people. And luckily, it has. And I couldn't be more grateful. We've built a great community of friends, people similar to yourself that I haven't actually met in person, but I feel like I know them because they're always there, and I always show up on their page. So it's been amazing.
Right. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned your 3 kids, because I don't know if I originally discovered you because you were an author and you're talking about your book, or because you were talking about your kids. I think we're similar ages, because I think you've mentioned your age in one of your TikToks before, and you have kids the same ages. So you talk a lot about parenting, and you talk not necessarily about your kids, but about kind of the challenges of parenting, or about just kind of being, a dad. Seems that you're the primary caregiver of your kids. You're doing a lot of the caregiving while your not your mom, your wife is out, their mom is out working out of the home, and you're doing a lot of that. So you talk about that a lot, and I see what you're doing, and it really, you appeal to parents who are the ones who are probably buying your books, reading your books to their children. So tell me about your marketing strategy and kind of how you came up with that and how to reach the right people.
That's a really good question, because I'd like to think that I don't really, or didn't have much of a strategy going into it. It was just something that I thought would be fun. But the more and more that I learned and kind of dove deep into TikTok, you hear all the experts and gurus saying, hey, you need to find your niche, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I was just going at it a little bit haphazardly, just doing things that I thought were fun, entertaining for me, which was all good and well because I was enjoying it. But I was like, you know what, if I'm going to take this a little bit more seriously, let me follow some of that advice. So look, to be honest with you, I would probably drive myself insane if all I did was talk about books and writing. And if I saw an account like that, I wouldn't want to go back to it every single day. So I took a step back and I said, hey, who are the accounts, or what are the accounts that I'm following? What are they talking about? And what I figured was, hey, some people are interested in the books and writing and learning how to get started writing a book. And that's a journey that I've gone through. You know, I started my own independent publishing company to publish my books, and eventually maybe down the road I can help other people do the same. So that's one thing that I can very easily do. The other things, you know, it just seemed really, really natural that, you know, after I left my job on Wall Street, I started the STEM education business. We then relocated to Oslo, Norway for my wife's job. And I hired somebody to run the business, but I was home with the kids, taking them to school, sports, you know, coaching their teams. And I was like, hey, you know what? There are millions upon millions of people who are doing similar things on a daily basis. I'm the one who does the grocery shopping, the bulk of the cooking. So I was like, hey, that's part of my life. It helps inform what I write about. It helps people get to know me better. So I was like, all right, I do want to talk a little bit about that. You know, you mentioned the struggles of being a parent, which is one thing. And most people tend to relate more with the struggle part than the joy part. So it's finding a nice balance of what to post that I think is going to be entertaining for me and it's going to resonate with people. And then the other thing, which kind of ties my interest back to the books, is I saw that there was such a need for early STEM education when I was running my business. So I tried to incorporate things that happen in my everyday life that I think, you know, maybe people don't think about. So, you know, I started stitching videos where there's a scientific or something, or not, doesn't have to be scientific, but there's something that happens. And I try to explain, you know, what the science is behind it, because these are the videos that I used to watch with my kids, whether it's somebody on a zip line coming to the end and smashing against it and just flipping over. And I was like, oh, you know, not Newton's laws of motion. Like, let me explain that. There's a video of that I saw of somebody freaking out because they were in an airplane and the windows seemed to be coming off the side of the airplane. And I was like, actually, that's not as scary as it seems, because airplane windows have 3 different panes and that one is just cosmetic. Like, don't worry about it. So I started doing those sorts of things and people started to resonate with them. And then the other thing that I love doing, because kids, and this is why I write my books, why I love working with them, is just they're just so naturally curious. And they're always asking why, and especially my youngest, whenever I'm alone with him, he is always asking, why does this happen? Like, why did that traffic light take so long to change colors? So he and I will sit there and we'll research. All right, there are different systems that are in place to change traffic lights. One is like a scale or a weight that senses that there's a car there. There's a motion sensor system. Some are just on a timer. So just these random things that I would come across, and I was like, oh, I think people might be interested in knowing that. So I would make videos about that. So those are sort of the 3 main buckets that I decided to fill or to fall into, is writing children's books, parenting, and then sort of STEM education, or just curious everyday things that happen that I can explain in a way that kids can understand and parents can show their kids if they come across my videos.
Yeah, well, it must work well for you because you have close to 24,000 followers as of right
Almost.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty impressive. I mean, I think that's amazing. I think you do a great job of relating to parents, like I said, and then, like you said, teaching. Your content is educational, and so it just attracts kind of a variety of people. And then you throw in your book there, and you
every once in a while, you know, I have to.
You also one of your recent TikToks that stood out to me was when you talked about a book deal that you got for, I think it was like a sales of, was it 300 copies?
Yeah, largest order I've gotten so far.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And that came about because of TikTok. It was absolutely amazing. I got a message. There's an organization, a nonprofit called Miracle Flights. And what they do is they provide transportation flights for people and their families who need to get medical treatment that's not available in their local area. It's whatever ailment or disease that they have, they're in a small town. They need to go to Chicago, New York, somewhere to get treatment. And what they've done is they created during the pandemic, I think that's what was the catalyst for, is they created this virtual kids club where they get all of these patients together and they come online and they show them content while they're waiting for their treatment. And recently somebody came across my content and said, hey, this is perfect because we just have a little bit of money earmarked to try to promote or build out some STEM education content. And your books would be perfect. Would you mind doing a reading, creating some content or activities that the kids, the patients can do with us? And not only that, a lot of times we'll fly out the entire family because they don't have childcare at home. So they have younger siblings who may want to do things. So it is absolutely awesome. I couldn't be more excited to be working with them. The partnership is going to start in June, and they're building, they have a pretty broad reach. They're building a broad PR campaign to promote the release of this. And I think it's going to be awesome. And even if they hadn't ordered the books and they just wanted me to come read, I would be thrilled. But what they're going to do is I've already ordered the books. They're going to get them directly. And then they send care packages to everybody who's going to be going out for treatment in June. They'll receive it, and then I'll come on. I think it's the first weekend in June to do the presentation. And if all goes well, maybe it has the potential to be a recurring thing every month that I'll come on and work with them. So super, super excited.
That's amazing. So, okay. So that was going to be one of my next questions for you is, here's the question that every author wants to know, right? Is, does TikTok sell books?
I think so.
I mean, that was a great example, right?
Yeah, no, I think it does. So before I was on TikTok, I spent some time on Instagram and a few other social media platforms, and it was hard in those instances for me to see the conversions. Granted, I had just started out. I hadn't been around. I only had one book at the time, and now I have three. So there's follow through. Like if somebody likes the first book, like I just got an order yesterday from somebody who ordered the first book, absolutely loved it, and they just bought the second and the third. And that was part of the reason why early on, because mine are children's books that people go through relatively quickly, in a matter of 20 minutes, 30 minutes sitting with their kids, I didn't want to put too much time and effort into marketing and promoting the first one, because my thought was, oh, I love this book. Or as a parent, I'd be like, oh, I love this book. Let me see what else is out there by this author.
Yeah.
And there'd be nothing there. So I said, you know what? I'm going to fully understand that I'm probably not going to get as many sales as I would like early on. But once I get to that third book, then I can start to promote it, to push it. I haven't spent a single penny on marketing. And that's something that I want to do. I want to try to invest back into the books this year. I launched my first two books via Kickstarter, really, really successful campaigns. The first book, The Blocks Come Out at Night, was one of the 10 most funded children's books on Kickstarter in 2019. We raised, I think it was over $15,000, which was amazing. So I've taken that and I've used that money to help, create and produce the second book and the third book. And now some of those funds I think I want to put towards marketing. But to answer your question, I think it does sell books. I see the sales coming in. I see the videos of people tagging me of their kids unboxing the book, yeah, and telling me, oh, we just read your book. My kid has picked it for the last week. It's been the one story he's wanted to read or she's wanted to read at night. So more so than other platforms, I think that I see the conversions. And by no means am I selling enough books to pay for this house or to for my wife to retire and leave her job. But it's not nothing. My kids get to see me do something that I'm really, really passionate about, and I fully acknowledge how fortunate I am to be in a position to be able to do this and play the long game, because that's what being an author really is. Like, you never know when your big break is going to come, or if it's ever going to come. And it's sort of a war of attrition. How long can you last and do it for? And I've told myself that I think I can do this for a really long time, and hopefully it hits at some point.
Yeah, well, you've had pretty amazing success, I think, in the short amount of time that you've been working on it. Yeah. So next question for you is, you talked about some of the other social media platforms you worked on, or you tried for marketing, right? And then now you're doing this stuff on TikTok. Was TikTok just natural for you? Do you feel like it just was like totally a natural skill to get on and do these videos and interact with people?
That's a good question. I think it honestly, I think it came easier to me than some other platforms. And by that, I mean Instagram, where I'm like taking a picture and trying to come up with something witty and creative to caption it. And it has to be perfectly curated. Or, Facebook, where people are, sharing. I've never been one to much for Facebook, but sharing status updates and things about your personal life, and kind of that's what gets traction. Turning on the camera and saying, hey, do you ever wonder why it is that you see earthworms come out after it rains? My kid asked me that. So here's why. We researched it. So it for me, it felt really natural. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty comfortable just talking to people and turning the camera on and just pretending that it's a friend or somebody. Did come fairly easily. But what did not come easily, and I think the part that a lot of people struggle with, is how hard it is to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And life gets in the way, and the people that you see that that have the hundreds of thousands, the millions of followers, it doesn't matter what's going on in their life. It doesn't matter what's happening. They could have, their house could be burning down, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I have this in my drafts. I need to post something because I need to stay consistent.
Yeah.
So being consistent was one of the hardest things to learn and to try to do. And I think people really do struggle with that, just anecdotally, what I've heard. But once you kind of figure out a formula that works for you, at least for me, it seemed to come easier to me than other platforms. And that's great, because otherwise it would feel like work and a chore. And I get why some people wouldn't want to do it. But unless you put in that time and you put in that consistency, you're never going to know whether or not it's going to produce results. And I'm still, like you said, I have almost 24,000 followers now. And the crazy thing is that most of those followers came as a result of videos, like you said, that I made that weren't about my books. It was about parenting. I made a video about how some youth sports parents can be pretty obnoxious. So that got me a ton of views. I made a video about a shopping app that I use. And, if you do the shopping in your house, like I do, and I tied in the books. I was like, not only am I a children's book author, but I also do most of the shopping. Here's something that I use. And that actually got the company actually reached out when they saw how many views that video got. And they gave me the free paid version of the app. They asked to be able to use the video as a promoted post, which got me some more eyeballs as well. And then I've had some recent videos. When I was on vacation, I had a scary story about a friend's daughter who got caught in a riptide when we were just in Cancun, and I was in the water with them trying to get my daughter out and everything. So things that had nothing to do with the book, just about parenting and life, and like you said, somewhat educational. So you never know what's going to hit or what's going to resonate with people. And a lot of those videos that I've made that have gotten a lot of views have taken me all of 3 minutes to record and to post, as opposed to the ones that take me 30 minutes or an hour that, get 200 views. And I'm like, oh man, but can't get discouraged.
Right.
I love it. I really do have fun doing it. My kids probably get annoyed at it at times, but it's fun. They know that it's part of what I do for my books. Now they ask me questions that they know that I'm going to turn into a TikTok. So it works.
Yeah. I was going to bring up your vacation. So you recently had that vacation. That's when it's the hardest for me, is when I'm outside of my normal routine. Yeah. It's really hard for me. When I'm traveling, I'm like, I can't think about TikTok. But I saw what you did when you were on that vacation. You just took probably 100 videos of just like everything you were, just like the ocean and
the beach. I just recorded all kinds of stuff. And then what I would do is, when I was sitting there, the kids were playing, I would sit on the beach chair, and I'd be like, all right, what are we going to make a video about? So I would take 10 minutes, I would scroll through my feed, and I was like, all right, here's the ocean, here are the waves. Like, all right, can I do something with this? And that's exactly what my approach was. And the first video that I made, I was so proud of myself, because I thought it was witty and funny, and I don't even know how many views it got, but not a lot. But I was like, I made a declaration that we're going to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you vacation talk for the next week. So you'll get a lot of the same content from a different setting. But it worked out. It worked out really well. And I still use some of the clips. But you're right. Just walk around, record anything, because you never know. Like, you don't know what's going to be trending or what audios are going to be trending. And I was like, oh, I can use this with that video that I recorded. So, and there were times when I would sit there after the kids went to bed, drink in hand, and I was like, oh, I only posted one thing today, because that was in the middle of a time that I committed to posting 5 times a day for that month. And I didn't know that I was going to be going on vacation when I made that
Yeah.
commitment. So I was like, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock at night. I still have to post 2 more videos. So I would just sit there before I went to bed, and I forced myself to put something out there, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like the more consistent you are with posting, even when it's a challenge, you start coming up with more ideas. You know, for me, it's like, you know, once I start doing more of it, and sometimes people will ask you questions, so then you can respond to questions. Those are always fun. That makes it really easy to post something. So tell me about the challenge of 5 a day and the results that you saw from that.
Yeah. So I've done it twice. The first time that I did it was, it was coming towards the end of the year, and I was like, you know, I had started consistently in, I think it was March of 2021 is when I really started doing this, and I had done okay. I had, I don't know, 3,000 followers, and I was like, all right, you know what? I really want to try to grow. I'm gonna try to release the 3rd book in the series in January. Let me do what all these people say you should do, which is post a lot. I picked a random number, 5. So let me try to do it 5 times a day. And like you said, as time went on, it got easier. I started to come up with a formula of what types of things I would post. I would respond to a video. I would stitch a video. I would do something about my books. I would respond to a question. And I made a video about this because people asked me, how do you post 5 times a day? So I gave them exactly my formula of what I did. And in that first period of 30 days, I grew from 30 to over 15,000 followers. And it was the food video, the one about the grocery shopping, that just kind of caught fire. And I wasn't even going to make it. I was like, oh, I need to do something. I had just come across the app, and I was like, oh, I'm going to the store. Let me walk down the hallway and film this video. So the engagement went way up. It resonated with people. So with almost 15,000 new followers that I ended up getting in that first 30-day period. I then kind of just fell off a little bit. Here's the consistency part. The new year came in, life sort of got in the way, and I was posting. I was still on there posting, you know, once, twice a day, not nearly as consistent. And I had seen sort of the growth start to stagnate a little bit, and I was kind of stuck at around 18,000. And I was like, you know, it'd be nice to get to 20, just a nice round number. And I decided in the middle of March, you know what, I'm gonna do this again. And you know, lo and behold, you know, vacation was in there, and a few things happened, and the same thing. It wasn't as dramatic a growth, but I've gone from those 18 now up to 24, and I think it works. I think there's a part of TikTok, you know, people use the algorithm, but there's a part of TikTok that I think seems to value quantity. I mean, obviously quality matters if you want people to keep coming back, but I think I've noticed that it's every so often, it's not how much time has gone by, it's how many videos I've posted, because those videos that tend to get the 10,000 views or 20, or, you know, I've been fortunate to have videos, you know, million plus views. It's, you know, things that I think are really going to do well. It just doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, you've posted your 100th video. Let's push this one out to people. So it was one of those things where I wanted to see if it worked for me. I know that it's not for everybody, but for somebody like me, that all I have are these 3 little books, and I'm trying to share some educational content. I thought that getting my face out there in front of as many people as possible, as often as possible, would be a good thing. And if people saw it, maybe they would like it, and maybe they'd come back for more. And it's worked. It's worked. I'm actually debating. May is coming up right now, and I'm debating whether or not I try to challenge myself in the month of May to do it, because even since you know, April 15th came, I've seen myself just kind of falling off, because there's nothing to push me. And the beauty of it was, especially the second time around, people wanted to do it with me. And because I asked for accountability partners early on, and people started tagging me in videos. I started tagging them, and we kind of just started to support each other. And early on, I was like, all right, this is video number 2 of 5 for today. And people started doing the same thing. And I think I have people that I follow that I think also saw really, really good results, and people who were, you know, under 1,000 followers, who were just looking to be able to go live to get 1,000,
yes.
Who achieved those goals. So it's been cool. I know that it's not for everyone. Not everybody has the freedom or the flexibility that I do to be able to do it. But if you do, I think it's worth giving it a shot just to see if it works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so there's a couple things that happen when you hit 1,000 followers. One is you get to have a link in your bio.
Yes.
I guess you can do that if you have a certain kind of account, right? There's certain kind of accounts that, like if
Yeah,
it's
you
a
know what?
business
You
account.
you would know better, but I know that when I hit 1,000 is when I was able to do it.
Yeah. I think there's if you set your account as like business, then you can
Right.
have a link. But if it's personal, then you have to have 1,000 followers. But then also you can go live. So I think for me, I think that's a good goal for anyone new on TikTok to try to hit that 1,000 first,
Definitely.
because it kind of opens up a couple of things for you. Um, what other advice do you have for let's say I'm an author, I have never done anything on TikTok yet, but I'm thinking about exploring it to promote my
Yeah.
book. What advice would you give me?
You know, the thing that I think I would probably do different is I I would do a better job early on of letting people know who I am and what I'm all about. And for me, I think now it's, I don't know at what point of the journey most people are on, but I think if you were going to do that, I would say take a week, give yourself a hard deadline, but take a week and go look, if you haven't already done so, go look to see the accounts that you follow, that you admire, that you aspire to be like, and say, all right, I can do this. I don't think I can do this, but I can do this, and I can do this from this person. And when you start on day one, after that week, say, all right, I'm going to start, have a plan, and just like I ended up doing, even unfortunately, I ended up doing it, several months into my account, but have a plan of what you're going to put out there so people know what they're going to get when they come to see you. Like everybody else, I've posted random videos of,
Right.
doing trends, just silly fun things. But by and large, when people come to my account, they know that they're going to get something about writing a book or my books. They know they're going to get something, relatable, parenting related. Hopefully it's relatable about parenting, or they're going to get something educational about science, technology, engineering, or math. And if that's not for you, that's okay. But you know that that's what you're going to get. So when you start, introduce yourself. There are a ton of different audios that you can use to let people know who you are. But try to make videos that fall into whatever it is that you want to put out there. Do that for like the first week, and then after that, just kind of go and explore it and have fun. But those early videos, I think, are going to be really, really key into you trying to capture the right audience, and TikTok figuring out who to push your content out to, because these are the people that are going to want to come back for more, because they kind of fit your niche.
Your niche, yeah. Yeah, I'll say I had a video early on, kind of when you were saying, when I started out, it was similar situation. My kids were on it, and then I was like, what is this thing? And I started watching stuff, and then I was posting like these silly videos at first. And one of the videos I posted was my daughter serving a volleyball. I didn't think anything of it. That video just blew up to where I was getting thousands of views on that video every single day for weeks.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing feeling, because you're like, oh my gosh, I put this piece
Right.
of content out there and people are just loving it. And it got me in this, I got a lot of followers that had nothing to do with anything that I had to do with, right? And so then I realized, like, I had kind of set myself up, because now I'm talking about books, and I just got a bunch of followers who are really into sports,
Yeah.
right? So
No, it's true.
you kind of have to
It's
be
true.
careful about that.
So I honestly, I think that there's probably a way to kind of finesse your way, make everything fit into your little bubble, because similar. I mean, I've had similar experiences, and I'm like, all right, how can I kind of steer this back into what I want to do? Because once you fall into a different side of TikTok, sometimes it's hard to get out. So if you make a conscious decision early on to, all right, here's what I'm going to be all about, I think it'll serve you well. I think it would have served me well, and I think I'd maybe be doing a little bit better, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier kind of the accountability group and the people who are kind of tagging you on things and following along in your progress. And I will say that is one of the things that, to me, about TikTok that is different than from other platforms, is I feel like there is such a community, and it's really, it's really fun. You get to know each other. Like you and I
Yeah.
sat down in this interview. I've never actually talked to you, but I feel like I know a lot about you. You know a lot about me from, our videos, and we are part of this community together. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I completely agree. I think the other thing is that evolves over time as well, right? So early on, I had people that I was like, you know what, like you're gonna get this little group of people who are just starting out at the same time. You're trying to support each other, and you kind of latch on, and then sometimes life gets in the way, people fall off. Maybe you stop responding, but once you get back into it, you'll build another community. And I have people that from a year ago, I'm still constant interaction, but I have people that were great supporters, bought the books, were hyping me up, and vice versa for about a month or two, and then life got in the way, they fell off. But other people like yourself kind of come in and fill that void. So the beauty of it is, like you said, is that if you do it consistently, and you continue to show up, there's always going to be somebody there waiting for you. And it may not be as many people as you would like. I love the audios that says, hey, you know what, I'm paraphrasing here, but 30 people watching your video is not a lot. But if 30 people walked in the door to hear you talk about your book, you'd be thrilled. Or,
Yeah.
a thousand views isn't a lot, but a thousand views would fill up this whole auditorium. Or, 20 or 100,000, it's only 100,000 people, but that would fill up, all of, Michigan Stadium for a football game. So kind of once you put things into context, you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing as badly as I think. But my point is that if you show up, you're gonna find that group that wants to support you, whether it's for a week, a month, or people that I've been following, and we've been supporting each other for the past year. So just be, the hardest thing, like I said, is to be consistent. But if you do that, hopefully you'll see results that make you feel like it's been worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, awesome. This has been so much fun. I have had
Thank you.
fun getting to know you on TikTok, and even more fun interviewing you and hearing about your success. I wish you the best of luck with your books, and hope that you continue to see amazing results from your TikTok. So thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Have a lovely day. Bye, guys.